Hello. Thank you for allowing me to share a book I wrote, a resource for children who are impacted by foster care. Janie's Story, a children's book about understanding neglect. My name is Lisa Lewis and I am a social worker working with families and children. For the past 10 plus years, I have been a therapist to children who live in foster homes, kinship or relative homes, or who have been adopted from the foster care system. This book is an outcome from a need I experienced when working with these families. The number of books specific to foster care is growing, and I am thankful for this, but foster care resources are still limited. This book specifically is targeted toward the topic of neglect. As a therapist, I have the most difficulty trying to explain neglect. Neglect is not tangible, it is not concrete. Kids don't understand why it is a problem, and it is hard to explain. As a result, I self-published a book on Amazon that tries to help fill in these gaps. The purpose of this book is trifold. First, it is validating for kids to see images and hear topics about difficult things they may have experienced. Second, it is an attempt to explain in concrete ways what neglect is and possible reasons why neglect occurred in their family. Third, the book discusses feelings, coping skills, and explains reactions from a trauma perspective. To me, this book is to be read together. The book can be difficult. It uses hard illustrations. While some may question if it is good to expose a child to this, I find that to those kids who have experienced such events, it is a validation of their life and an opportunity to educate. While reading this book, you can alter the storyline to match your child's story or needs. You can skip over non-pertinent parts or highlight those that are important to you. It is meant to be read together as a tool to help kids make sense of their past experiences and move forward in healthy ways. Let's get to the book. Hi, I'm Janie, and these are my little brothers, Damien and Derek. I am 11 years old, Damien is 7, and Derek is 2. We live in a foster home. Maybe you live in a foster home too, or with relatives or in a shelter. Sometimes living in a foster home is fine, but sometimes it's really hard. There are both good and bad things about it. Sometimes I feel lonely, sad, or mad, but sometimes I feel happy, safe, comfortable, and loved. Sometimes I feel all of these things at the same time. It can be so confusing. One thing for sure is that it can cause a lot of big feelings. We used to live with my mom. My caseworker said we could not live with her right now because of neglect. Some kids are in foster care because of physical abuse, which is when your grown-up uses too much physical force, such as hitting. Some kids are in foster care because of sexual abuse, which is touching to your private parts. But neglect? What is that? Just another thing to be confused about. This is what my caseworker told me about neglect. Neglect can be when you do not have safe living conditions, moving between friends, relatives, shelters, or motels, not having a home or being homeless, a home that does not have water or electricity, a home that is unsafe, not having beds or furniture, not having enough food, too many people living there, too messy or too much stuff, not having things that kids need to grow, such as toys or books or furniture, a neighborhood that is unsafe. Neglect can be when you do not have good care, not going to school regularly, not being ready or having what you need for school, not going to the doctor when you need it, not having a grown-up who helps you learn or who talks to you or teaches you things, not having any rules, or if there are rules, they change all the time, not having a grown-up who gives you love and attention. Neglect can be not having good supervision. Your grown-up ignores you. Older siblings taking care of younger siblings. Other people watching you. Sometimes you know the people, sometimes not. Having to get things on your own, like buy or find your own food. Doing all the household chores on your own. Being alone in your neighborhood. Being left home alone. or you're grown up fighting with a spouse or a partner, either by hitting or yelling at each other. For sake of time, I won't read the entire book, but the book continues with topics such as the impacts of neglect, possible reasons why neglect occurs, typical feelings, how experiencing these life events can impact our brain and cause trauma reactions, learning to manage our feelings and coping skills. Finally, the book outlines the child's jobs, including that it is not their fault and that their job is to keep being the great kid they are. If you are somehow a participant in the foster care system, either as a foster or adoptive parent, a caseworker, a volunteer, a therapist, or a community member, thank you. I know individually we all want the best for the kids in our lives. I also know how daunting and overwhelming this can be. Thank you for allowing me to share this resource as together we work towards a healthy world for our children.